Hello, and welcome back to TFD. I've got to be honest with you, I don't know if professional sports will ever be the same again after this. The ripple effects of what's unfolding right now could change everything. I mean, this isn't just some minor controversy or headline-grabbing scandal. This could reshape how leagues operate, how players are protected, and how the business side of sports is handled moving forward. I truly believe this is only the beginning. It's going to get bigger and bigger as more details come out, and trust me, it's not going to happen overnight. These things take time. There are reports of new investigations possibly being launched, and if that's true, it means there's still a lot more under the surface that hasn't been revealed yet. And yes, I'm absolutely going to tie this into the WNBA because I think the reach of this story could go far beyond just one league. When something shakes the foundation of professional sports, everyone feels it, and that includes women's basketball. Whether it's financial oversight, player safety, or organizational accountability, this has the potential to impact them all. So, before we dive deeper, I want to play this quick clip for you. It'll give you a clear picture of what's been happening so far, the legal actions being taken, the prosecutions, and the growing list of names involved. This is an official summary from a woman with the FBI, and she lays it out perfectly. You'll understand just how massive this really is once you hear it. Check this out.
The first case, Operation Nothing But Bet, exposed a gambling ring built around professional basketball, where players and associates allegedly used inside information to manipulate prop bets on major sports betting platforms. They placed wagers on unders on players to score less, rebound less, assist less, using information that was not yet public. In some instances, players altered their performance or took themselves out of games to make sure that those bets paid out. One example occurred on March 23rd, 2023 in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics. Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash.
This is absolutely insane. I mean, the fact that people think this is limited to just a couple of names, that's wild. Because let's be real, what we're seeing with Terry Rozier is just one piece of the puzzle. There's also the situation involving Chauncey Phillips. And what's crazy is these two aren't even connected. These are completely separate investigations, different situations, different people, and yet they're all happening around the same time. That's what makes this so alarming. It feels like we're only scratching the surface. And I'll be honest, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of this. The deeper people dig, the more that's going to come out. There's too much noise, too much overlap for it to be coincidence at this point. Before I get into my full thoughts on why this is such a massive problem, not just for the NBA, but for professional sports as a whole, I want to walk through a few more key details that have been surfacing, because this isn't just speculation anymore. There's fire to this fire, not just smoke. That's the scary part. A lot of what people brushed off months ago as rumors or internet talk is now being revisited. And some of those old whispers, they're starting to look like legitimate red flags that were ignored. People are now pointing back and saying, see, we were talking about this way back then. And it's becoming harder and harder to dismiss. We're at the point where everything has to be looked at under a microscope because something big is clearly happening.
And it really starts to make a lot more sense when you hear things like this, right? Because it puts credence to all those so-called crazy theories fans were shouting about online. Remember that absolutely ridiculous trade the Dallas Mavericks pulled off? The one where their fans practically stormed the front office with pitchforks? People couldn't believe it. How could you trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, an older, injury-prone player for a superstar at his prime? It made no sense at all. At least not back then. But now, Now we're watching the entire league get exposed, with arrests and investigations painting a picture of corruption that goes deeper than anyone realized. And suddenly, that trade doesn't look so random anymore. Think about it. The Mavericks somehow end up with the #1 pick in the NBA draft, despite having almost no mathematical chance. They weren't a bottom team, they were just 2 games shy of a 500 record. Meanwhile, the Sixers, who went 24-58, end up with the 3rd pick. The Hornets, Jazz, and Wizards all had worse records, yet somehow Dallas, with 39 wins, walks away with Cooper Flagg. You can't make this up. And fans are starting to say, hey, maybe this isn't luck. Maybe the league is steering things behind the scenes, favoring certain franchises or even star players like LeBron James. And honestly, after everything that came out, can you blame people for thinking that way? Because if this kind of manipulation is happening at the NBA level, you better believe I'm about to tie this into the WNBA too, because this pattern doesn't stop there.
I promise we're going to break this all down, but first, check this out. This right here is Terry Rozier, folks. This is Terry Rozier supposedly playing basketball, or at least trying to, because I don't know what I just watched. Those might be 2 of the most bizarre plays I've ever seen in an NBA game. I mean, what is that? What are we even looking at here? And this is exactly why people are starting to question everything now. Once these kinds of stories start coming out, you can't look at the game the same way again. Because here's the truth, it's all the same game. You see where I'm going with this? Maybe when people criticize someone like Angel Reese for missing easy layups, maybe it's not about the layups at all. Maybe there's something else going on behind the scenes. Maybe there's more to how certain players move, how certain games play out, and how the whole system operates. That's all I'm saying. Now, hopefully you can still see the clip, because honestly, the NBA seems to be clamping down on this kind of footage lately, especially with everything that's been happening. They don't want that bad press spreading around. But this is what people are noticing. The inconsistencies, the weird plays, the moments that just don't add up. And the wildest part? In that same game, Terry Rozier looked like he could have been playing in a middle school gym. I mean, no disrespect, but he was no better than the 6th graders down the street. And when you see that, after everything else going on, you start to realize something much bigger might be happening behind the curtain. Hold on to that thought, because I want to talk about the WNBA, and then we'll circle back to how this connects to everything we've just been discussing. Do y'all remember this moment? Yeah, I think we can go there. This was the play that decided the 2024 WNBA championship. Breanna Stewart catches the ball, and watch closely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 steps before she ever puts the ball on the floor. 7 steps. You've got officials staring right at it, clear as day, and somehow, no whistle. Instead, she gets a foul call that flips the game. And not only was the travel missed, but that foul call, absolutely horrendous. Then, to make matters worse, there was an unsuccessful challenge, and the whole thing stood. A game-deciding moment built on what looked like an 85-step travel to begin with. Now, stack on top of that, the WNBA commissioner showing up in a New York City skyline dress right after the Liberty benefited from that call. Add the deleted tweet, the free throw discrepancy, 258-0 for Neko Gwumike and her team, and suddenly people are starting to connect dots. And here's the bigger issue. Once something like this gets exposed in one league, every league comes under the microscope. The NFL, the NBA, and yes, the WNBA. All of them are now being looked at through a much different lens. Look, officiating mistakes happen, I get that. I've refereed before. Some calls are genuinely tough, like block charge situations. But this, the Breanna Stewart play, there's no way you miss that unless something else is at play. You don't just overlook 7 steps. That's not incompetence, that's influence. And whatever that influence is, it needs to be addressed.
And then this right here, I just have to show you. They're literally talking about this entire probe on ESPN. breaking down the details, speculating about who's involved, what the league might do next, the whole thing. And while they're discussing the topic of gambling, take a close look at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You see that ticker? It says ESPN Bet. Bet $10, get $100. Do you see the problem here? They're covering a serious story about gambling investigations, and the entire segment is being sponsored by a betting company. Their own, no less. That's ESPN Bet promoting itself while simultaneously reporting on gambling scandals. You can't make this up. The irony is just wild. They're sitting there talking about integrity, player responsibility, and league oversight, while their own broadcast is flashing promos encouraging viewers to place bets. It's almost like they don't see the conflict of interest right in front of them. And that's exactly why fans are losing trust in these networks and the leagues they cover. Because if the media is making money off the same gambling system being investigated, how objective can their coverage really be? Now, I've got the WNBA angle I want to get into next, because you already know this type of thing doesn't stop with just one league. If it's happening on this level, you can bet, no pun intended, that the ripple effects are coming for women's basketball too.
And the last thing I'm going to say about this, and it's so important, goes right back to that ESPN Bet situation. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. No matter how it looks, you simply cannot have professional sports leagues and the media that covers them completely tangled up with sports gambling companies. That's a massive conflict of interest. Think about it. How can ESPN claim to be objective, fair, and transparent when they have their own sportsbook, ESPN Bet? How can they honestly report on gambling investigations, player suspensions, or league controversies when they're literally profiting off the same industry they're supposed to hold accountable? And it's not just ESPN. You've got players, even megastars like LeBron James, signing endorsement deals with betting companies. Again, not singling him out, but he's the most visible example. You cannot have athletes, leagues, and media all in bed with sportsbooks and then expect fans to believe the system is clean. It doesn't work that way. Now, imagine this. The NBA issues a statement saying they're deeply concerned about the recent FBI arrests tied to gambling, and right below it, you see a promo, use code multiple arrests for a 30% profit boost on your parlay with DraftKings, the official gambling partner of the NBA. That's not just ironic, that's alarming. If the NBA, NFL, or even the WNBA were truly serious about rooting this out, they'd cut ties immediately. But they haven't, because it's profitable, it's everywhere, it's intertwined. And after what we saw in the WNBA finals, the missed travel, the foul, the commissioner's bias optics, it's hard not to question everything. That play decided a championship, and now fans are asking, how deep does this go? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you for watching. As always, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget, stay tuned because this story is far from over.